Well, hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. Wow, we are getting into Exodus. We're kind of still not quite in the middle, but we've got a ways to go in Exodus. We're right now getting into the last plague here, and it's part of the Passover. And so this section that we're doing here today is the first of three parts of the Passover. We're going to cover chapter 12. The first 30 verses are dealing with the Passover and everything surrounded to it. So the Passover, these episodes will be divided up into three parts. The Passover part 1, which is the lamb, this is today. The Passover part 2, the unleavened bread, which is part 2 tomorrow. And then part 3, the next day, will be Passover part 3, the blood. Okay? So today we're going to be reading from Exodus chapter 12, verses 1 through 11. And this all has to do with the Passover. And it all ties in with the last plague, which the firstborn dies. So let me read this here. It says, chapter 12, verse 1 through 11. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, "This month is to be for you the first month of your year." Okay, so a whole new thing here. It's like God has just said, time to change your calendar because this is such a major event. Okay, whenever was there a time when the calendar was just changed because of such a major event? Anyone know? When Jesus was here. Okay, you still have, it's the year, we are living in the year 2020, and that goes back to Jesus. Okay, everything before Jesus was before the birth of Christ, but after AD is after Christ, after Jesus Christ. So those things are a change in the whole calendar. So this was a change in the calendar for the Jewish people here. The verse 3, tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one for each household. Okay, I have my lamb here with me today. So I have the lamb. Verse 4, if any household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share one with their nearest neighbor, having taken into account the number of people there are. Okay, so for me, if I was to eat this, take this lamb and eat the whole thing, it'd be too much for me. I can't eat a whole lamb by myself. So then you were supposed to team up with your neighbor and eat and share the lamb. You weren't supposed to have a bunch of leftovers. That's for sure. All right. You are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. The animals you must choose must be a year-old male without defect. Okay, very specific here about what this lamb is. It has to be a year old. This lamb here is a year old. It has to be male, this is male, and it has to be without defect. Okay, well, this lamb would be a problem here because it has grease on it here from a bike chain being rubbed on it. So that has a defect on it. So that lamb wouldn't be possible. You may take them from the sheep or the goats. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all the members of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. Okay, so just as it turns dark, that's the time you slaughter them. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and the tops of the doorframes of the houses where they are to eat the lamb. That same night they are to eat the meat roasted over the fire, along with bitter herbs and the bread made without yeast. Do not eat the meat raw or boiled in water, but roast it over the fire with the head, the legs, and the internal organs. Do not leave any of it till morning. If some is left till morning, you must burn it. This is how you are to eat it, with your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. Very specific instructions on what was to take place here. So we're stopping there today. The Passover, it's centered around the lamb, okay? And you're going to see, as we talk about the Passover here, this all points to Jesus, okay? Jesus was the sacrifice. He was the the ultimate Passover lamb. So as we continue on through Passover here, you're going to see all this stuff. It's like, hey, you know what? This applies to Jesus here, and it does. You know, everything was in the Old Testament. It was just a constant teaching about Jesus who is to come. But this lamb had to be very specific. It couldn't have a blemish. It had to be a male, a year old, and so forth. And it had to be perfect. And it had to be perfect. And again, it shows how Jesus was perfect. He was sinless. There was no defect in him. He was sinless. And in the same way, the lamb had to be perfect and without defect. With that, so you could take a lamb from either the sheep or the goats. It says there, and then it tells you how you're to apply the blood on the doorposts, and we'll get to that in the third segment of this. But I wanted to point out today the lamb. This was part of the Passover, a huge part of the Passover, and of this festival. And this festival, remember, was the start of their calendar year. Okay, so this is highly important, and then it talks about the lamb, and it's all pointing to Jesus. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through Exodus. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.